Hello, life science students, and welcome to another chapter of our discussion on the science of life. Today we are beginning chapter 13 of your textbook. It is on page number 277 if you would like to follow along. We are beginning our discussion on the vertebrates. Now, vertebrate animals are those animals with a backbone. Go ahead and discuss our section objectives here. Number one, we want to be able to describe the major characteristics of vertebrates. Number two, we want to differentiate between bone and cartilage. Number three, we want to be able to differentiate between endothermic and ectothermic animals. Number four, we want to discuss how animals can help regulate their body temperature. Now, while vertebrate animals are the ones that we are most familiar with, I mean, after all, we keep them as pets, we hunt them, we eat them, we are afraid of them in some cases, but the vertebrate animals we're more familiar with simply because they're bigger. But they really only make up about 5% of all animal species. The characteristics of the vertebrates, we said we want to be able to list these. These are the fact that they have a vertebrae, they have a skull, and they have a living skeleton. Now, what do we mean by this? Well, here we see an example of a vertebrae. You'll notice that the vertebrae, here we see a human vertebrae. We're looking at our vertebral column, and the vertebral column is used to protect the spinal cord. The spinal cord is that grouping of nerves that run from the brain, our central processing system, all the way throughout our body. And these nerves, we see them running through our vertebrae or through our spinal column, which is composed of many different vertebrae. We see that spinal column coming through, and then the nerves going out to different parts of the body to help be able to control our bodies. So we said number one, a vertebrate animal has vertebrae, typically a backbone. It also has a skull, and if I forward here, we see a typical skull. The purpose of the skull is to protect the brain. And we see our skull here. Here's the growth plates of our skull where our skull has grown together. The purpose of the skull is to protect the brain. So if we look at the characteristics of a vertebrate animal, number one, they have vertebrae protecting the spinal column. Number two, they have a skull, and that skull is serving to protect the brain. Number three, they have a living skeleton. And if we take a look at our living skeleton here, let's blow it up. Not that much. Our skeleton serves two different purposes. Number one, our skeleton provides structure for our body. It is the support system that provides structure for our body. Number two, it provides protection for our body, especially when we think of the rib cage providing protection for our vital organs. So the skeleton providing structure, providing protection of vital organs. So when we say, how do we define a vertebrae? Well, a vertebrate animal is one that has vertebrae, protecting the spinal column, has a skull, protecting the brain, and has a living skeleton, allowing us to be able to have structure and providing protection for our vital organs. Vertebrates have endoskeletons, and we just saw a picture of that endoskeleton over here. There is our endoskeleton, meaning that skeleton is on the inside of the body. See, we have skeleton, structure, support, endo, meaning on the inside, so an internal skeleton. Now, our skeleton is made up of a combination of bone and cartilage. We said we want to be able to differentiate between bone and cartilage. Bone gives vertebrate a strong support system. Cartilage is also strong, but it's much more flexible. The tip of your nose, your outer ear, these are cartilage. We have cartilage in joints between bones, and it serves as a cushion. If you take that cartilage out, you are going to have an awful lot of pain. The discs in your vertebral column, if we go back and look at those discs, are composed of cartilage. And so we see some cartilage here. Our ears, our nose, our joints have cartilage in them, and it basically serves as a cushion. Now, bone and cartilage are both living tissues that grow as the organisms grow. So our endoskeleton is made of bone and cartilage. Bone is very strong. It's very hard. The bone breaks. Cartilage is bendy. That's why you can kind of wiggle your nose. You can wiggle your ears and provide cushion. Um, the endoskeleton then, made of bone and cartilage, it also has the vertebral column and a skull. Most of them have ribs and structures supporting their limbs. And so when we think of the entire skeleton, what we see then is we see the rib cage typically protecting the lungs and other internal organs. We see the skull protecting the brain. We see the spinal column or the vertebral column here protecting our spinal cord, and then the rest of the skeleton providing structure and supporting limbs. Oh, we can't see this one too well, but it says endothermic, and that is that they are able to maintain a constant body temperature by internal means. We have endothermic animals and we have ectothermic animals. Now, endothermic we typically call warm-blooded. Ectothermic we typically call cold-blooded. Now, actually, their blood isn't warm or cold either way. Instead, we find that their blood is not actually warm or cold. It's simply that they have the ability to be able to maintain their body temperature internally, or the exterior, their surroundings dictate what their body temperature is. And so that's our real difference between endothermic and ectothermic animals. Um, Endotherms are mammals and birds. They are endothermic animals. Body temperature is maintained through a variety of means. They have a thick layer of feathers, or they have a large amount of blubber around their body that helps to be able to insulate their body to keep them warm. When it becomes too hot, the blood vessels will expand in some animals, bringing the blood up near the surface of the skin, and that way, as air passes over it, it can help to cool the blood. Some animals secrete sweat all over their body, and as that sweat evaporates, it helps to cool the skin, which in turn will cool the blood. Of other animals, such as dogs, they have their blood vessels are very close to the surface of their throat, and so they pant to help cool their body, and that panting brings air passing over their blood vessels, and that air helps to be able to cool the body. Uh, so we have body temperature maintained through a variety of means, whether it be insulation through fur or blubber, or um, uh, through fur, blubber, or fat, or whether it be cooling itself through somehow or another bringing the blood vessels very near the surface of the animal. Ectothermic animals are not able to maintain a constant body temperature by internal means. These are cold-blooded animals. And again, their blood isn't actually cold, it's just a term that we use. They're not able to maintain a constant body temperature. They're going to be varying based upon their environment. These are fish, amphibians, reptiles, and other invertebrates. But fish, amphibians, and reptiles are our ectothermic vertebrates. Their temperature of the body is the same as their surrounding temperature, and so what they're going to be doing is they're going to be working to try to get in situations where the temperature is conducive to their body functions. Many of their enzymes will not work properly if they get too hot or too cold. So ectothermic animals must adjust their activities to changing temperatures of their environment. Because again, if it gets too hot or too cold, many of the enzymes aren't going to work. They're not going to be able to digest their food. Their metabolic processes are going to begin to shut down. And I think that's where we'll stop for today. Have a great day.